Hey guys, today we are going to do a mock interview of Hive, and this video is brought to you by codeforinterview.com. So let's go ahead with our first question. Uh, what is Hive?
So Hive is a SQL-like store used in data warehouse context. So basically, in distributed world, uh, data is stored in very structured or semi-structured ways, or like sometimes unstructured also. There are a lot of analytics use cases, or like analytics users who are like so used to more traditional relational style databases. So the idea of creating Hive is to like make something similar to that so that these users can use it. And that's how I think Facebook conceived it. So basically, what it is actually a relational style data store. It is backed by a distributed file system, in this case, Hadoop, for example. Uh, yeah, so basically, the backend data could be in like structured, semi-structured, or unstructured format. You can provide structure to it, so people can write like SQL-like queries, and then like or like derive like results what they want, or like analyze data and do further processing.
So what according to you are the advantages of Hive?
Uh, Basically, with relational data store, uh, you're kind of confined to like running in a solo context, whereas in Hive it runs in like more of a distributed fashion, meaning like you get better performance, and it also depends on the way you store and other stuff. But like you can run in a distributed environment, you can run a bigger query, you can like analyze bigger data. Uh, so that's the biggest advantage for Hive, I would say.
Can you briefly explain the Hive components?
Um, so basically, there is a query engine uh, which basically analyzes the query and prepares. Uh, it identifies like how to execute the query. That's done by the query engine. Basically, it builds a DAG for you, and it determines how to run it, how to localize the queries and other stuff. But how clients interface it is by using a client, and client talks to the query engine to get the information. But outside of this, there is also like a meta store. I don't know if it's a Hive component or not. Basically, like pretty much all of the metadata used by Hive is like stored in this meta store. Uh, and I don't know what are the components. And that's all I
Okay.
can think of right now.
Yeah, sounds good. So what is the purpose of the edge catalog? Hive?
Uh, to be honest, I'm not that familiar with Edge Catalog. I've not used it much, but to the best of my knowledge, Edge Catalog, you can think of it like a catalog service. What it means is like you have Hive and you have a meta store on which like Hive depends on. Now, like with this, you can use Hive clients to run queries against these things. But like if you want to externalize it, meaning like you want to integrate with other components, you need to expose the structure. You need to provide ways for these external components to interact with Hive. So for that, you need something to publish these informations or schemas and those kind of stuff. So Edge Catalog provides you with that
Okay.
information.
Sounds good. So can you explain how like MapReduce runs over Hive?
Uh, so my understanding of this question is like how MapReduce and Hive relates with each other.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna explain in that
Sure,
context.
sure.
Uh, so whenever we write a query and then like we submit it for execution, what happens behind the scene is it creates a MapReduce job for you. Uh, Basically, where can I? Okay, so let's say you have a client and then you write a query here, and then your data store, like all your data stored in various data nodes. Now what happens, and then like you also have this Hive component installed in these nodes, and like you have this meta store. and then you have the Hive for you. So when you submit the query, it's submitted to the query engine, it builds a DAG. What it means is it basically identifies like which nodes have data, and then it launches. It creates a MapReduce job for you. Like basically, your query translates into a MapReduce job, and it knows what nodes have the data, or like it puts it as close as possible for the data to be like close to like to the executing context, and basically runs a mapper and a reducer, depends on the query, generates reports and gives it back to your client. So
Okay,
that's my understanding of
sure. So can you explain like what is partitioning in Hive?
right. So with Hive, as we mentioned earlier, like it's backed by a distributed storage system, and the reason why we go for distributed storage is we want to like store huge amount of data or huge volumes of data. So with these things, like if we don't partition, we are gonna like be running query on like the entire data set like for every single time we execute a query. So to gain performance, what is very common practice in Hive world is to create partitions. What it means is you have a data set, you come up with a logical division of data, and then like store in that structure. For example, a very common pattern is like people store in like year, month, day and hour, and then like sometimes like even a bit more granular to minutes. But the idea is this, like so now uh, instead of storing like everything for that particular use case in one directory, you kind of like store with some partition information. So you don't have to run the query on the old data set. Instead you can run on a subset in which you are interested in. And if always like if you're interested in running the old data set, you can still do it, but you can always cherry pick this. So
Okay.
that's the idea of partitioning.
And how about bucketing? Like what is bucketing?
So bucketing is again like the concept is same like partitioning, but it happens in the context of the partition. What it means is to explain with an example. Let's say you've you partition by date or date and time. For example, like year, month, day, and hour, and then like inside which you can bucket the data based on alphabets like A, B, C, D up to Z. Like basically what you're making sure is even within that partition, let's say like you want to look for a certain day, how many people with alphabet A registered to a certain website. Like you can do that. So it's more like narrowing down. It's same like partitioning. It's just like in the context of a partition. So
Okay. Can you give a real life example of Hive, like where Hive would be a good suit? Like it would be good to use Hive instead of something else.
So one of the interesting use cases I've seen like Hive being used is like clickstream analysis, where you get huge volumes of data, meaning like click data. Many a time it's semi-structured, so you can put, let's say like if your input is JSON, you can use like JSON survey and put some kind of structure on top of it, and you can perform like quick queries, or like you can perform like deep analysis on the data to derive some valuable results outside of it. So
And do you see usage of Hive will continue? Like say compare that to Spark, something like Spark which is coming up. What is your opinion on that?
so they do serve like two different purposes in my opinion. But again, there are again use cases. Spark is gonna have its own use case, and other thing is like Spark also works with Hive, so it can complement each other. Uh, so yeah, like
Yeah, that's a
I
good point.
strongly believe like there is use case for both actually.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks a lot, guys. Please leave comments.